Hi lads, and welcome back to yet another TF2 video. In this video we'll be going over the maps that have been lost deep within the jungle that TF2 has become after Jungle Inferno. With that first pun out of the way, sit back and relax, and perhaps enjoy. TF2 has been around for 11 years now, and throughout its existence, maps and game modes have been added to the game to keep the experience afresh. Most of these maps are still playable and played to this day, but some have been lost to the dark, empty servers we know as community servers, or have been lost entirely. In this video I'm going to try and make those forgotten maps known again, and then to forget them again because it's me. To be exact, there are a total of 114 different official maps across 18 different game modes as of writing. To be clear, these counts do include man vs machine, developer aid maps and the tutorial maps. Out of those 18 game modes, 15 are playable by using the matchmaking system we all know. The 3 modes that are not directly accessible through the usual casual matchmaking menu include Arena, Developer Aid and Robot Destruction. Arena is not accessible because the game mode got killed by Valve, dropping official support and development as they reasoned it was too complex for new players. By doing so, 10 maps were lost. When the Meet Your Match update dropped, the last official servers running Arena were shut down, and from that moment onwards, Arena was only playable on some dead community servers or through Versus Saxon Hill. Developer Aid is not accessible because of obvious reasons. It is not run on the official servers, since the one that would like to test something is looking to test something locally, as Valve forces official content only on their servers. Developer Aid is therefore available through the console. Robot Destruction on the other hand is a whole other story. First released to a newly announced Manco Beta Maps early access pool of maps in July 2014, was a game mode that would never leave early access, even though it was surprisingly fun. Judging by the updates it received, it was actively developed for a duration of 22 days and then received a minor bug fix 2 years later, not even directly related to the mode, but to a certain type of weapons not being able to deal damage to the robots. It died all left alone in one of the garbage bins over at Valve, next to the plants. Now that the game modes have been discussed, I believe it's about time to discuss some of the maps that have been lost throughout the years. But first, let me mention that 11 out of the 12 months of a year, Halloween maps are unplayable through the official matchmaking. That means that 18 out of those 114 maps are unplayable 1 out of the 12 months, but they are not exactly lost, just unplayable most of the year. Halloween should also not be confused with Invasion, which was an entirely different themed update, which maps are playable throughout the year. So, the first truly lost map is Cactus Canyon. It never saw the light of day and will remain in the earlier mentioned early access map pool forever. The map is part of the payload map pool and used to consist out of 3 stages. And I say used since the original second stage was permanently removed through beta testing. I personally never understood as to why it wasn't released. The map has textures, most of its bugs that were reported fixed, and was a fun map to play on. Even though Valve themselves report the map was unbalanced, I remember that both teams were able to win on multiple occasions. It shouldn't require that much work to fix the map and add it to the game, should it? For what I care, Valve could even brand it as an entirely new map, as long as it gets added to the game. We're desperate, give us something. The other map that people would think of instantly would be Asteroid, the only and probably last Robot Destruction map. When Valve added this to the game to receive feedback, people were surprised. A new game mode? What is this new concept? This sounds interesting, were all common responses when they heard about it for the first time. But when they played it, their responses changed to, what am I supposed to do? What are these things? What's going on? I'm so frustrated because I do not understand a single thing. If you thought Snowplow was a roller coaster, I can tell you, Asteroid is on a whole other level, and that's probably why it was never released. It was too difficult for new and experienced players to understand. There were simply too many elements crammed into one game mode. Even I still do not understand how a team is supposed to score points after reading through the wiki multiple times. I think it's a combination of capture the flag and control points, but I can still be mistaken. Another thing to notice is that there's still a lot of stuff to be done with textures, and one reason I can think of why this was done is because the developers knew it was a risky game mode. They knew that they would have wasted so much time on textures and the map itself if it turned out to be a major flop, so they spared themselves some time and got feedback on the game mode rather than the map itself. Turns out the plant was smarter than we thought. And then there still is Arena, an entire game mode that got removed because it was too difficult or too confusing to understand and too boring to play. I say boring since once you have been killed you were moved to spectator for the rest of the round. In all honesty, I think King of the Hill to be an amazing replacement for the game mode and certainly is not as complicated to play as Arena. Anyhow, adaptations of already existing maps specially made for Arena that were lost include, well, Sawmill, Nucleus, Granary and Badlands. Once again, these maps are still part of the game in other game modes, but their Arena adaptations got killed. One of the maps that was unique to Arena was Byre. This was the last map to be added to the game mode with the Invasion update, but didn't get to live long, 9 months to be exact. I personally didn't have a lot of playtime on the map, none that I can remember. Yet again, I'm not good at remembering things, but the fact that the community map got added to the game speaks for itself. Lumberyard, another map, will always have a soft spot in my heart. First of all, the map itself looks aesthetically pleasing, and second of all, playing on the map was lots of fun. I mainly got to experience this map through the Versus Saxon Hill, a community game mode, and was always pleasantly surprised if it was part of the rotation. The other map that got added with the Arena's launch, back when the heavy update got released, was Ravine, a map I do not have any playtime on. As with Lumberyard, it was an official map specially made for Arena, and is not seen in any other game modes. It has the same setting as Badwater, and surprisingly has no health packs but ammo boxes only. One out of the 2 remaining Arena maps is Watchtower, yet another map that I will love forever. I got to appreciate its aesthetics and its gameplay, which I got to experience through the Versus Saxon Hill game mode, a mode I've probably spent about 200 hours on back in the day. The last map, which I do like but I never really played on, was Offblast, a community made map added to the game with the Colossus update because of its outstanding quality. Once again, I can only say that the map is pleasing on the eye. It really is a shame that such great maps have been lost because the game mode was too difficult to understand or boring. What I would love to see is those maps added into the King of the Hill or Control Points versions. I believe it to be totally doable. For example, imagine King of the Hill Watchtower and Lumberyard or Control Points Offblast. I would have a blast for sure. And there you have it, a complete list of all the official maps that are no longer supported or accessible from within the game. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, do not be shy and leave a comment, like or subscribe to the channel. As always, if you're interested, there will be links to my Twitch channel, Discord server and Twitter profile in the description. Thanks for watching and maybe meet again next Friday.